Hello great people, today we are going to look at measurements. When we talk about measurements in this sense, we are talking about shapes, their dimensions. When we talk about dimensions, we are talking about the length, the breadth, the height. So we're talking about the length. So we have the length of shapes. We are talking about the breadth. We're talking about the height. We're talking about radius, diameter, and everything. All of them can be classified as dimensions. Now, under measurement, when we talk about dimensions, we are talking about the dimensions of basic shapes here. We look at our triangle, our rectangle, our square, our circle, basic shapes. Those are two-dimensional shapes, and then we also look at the three-dimensional shapes, which are the cylinders, the prisms, the cuboid, and the rest of them. So that is what we'll be looking at. We know basically when we have a rectangle, these formulas will be presented. When we have a rectangle, we are looking at the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. The perimeter of a rectangle is 2 of length plus breadth, or you just add the external lengths. And then the square is also similar, but the difference is that we have the length being equals to the breadth, and the perimeter is also the same because the length or the length of the sides are equal. And then we have our triangle. These are the basics. Our triangle, the area is half base times height, and then the perimeter of a triangle is adding up all the external sides. Please note that this height is perpendicular height. And then we have the circle, and the circle, the area of a circle is pi r squared, whereas the perimeter is the same thing as the circumference. Perimeter is the same thing as the circumference, which is 2 pi r, where r represents our radius. Now, when we talk about measurement by extension, we are actually looking at shapes that are three-dimensional. And remember, shapes that are three-dimensional pops out from these two-dimensional. When we talk about a rectangle, the square, the triangle, the circle, all of them are two-dimensional. So the three-dimensional shapes are the extension of this. So we'll be looking at the two basic ones. Let's look at the cuboid. The cuboid is what we call a rectangular prism also. The cuboid is a three-dimensional shape because it has depth. This will be the rough sketch of a cuboid. So if you look at the cuboid, you will see that it is made up of rectangles, 6 surfaces. And a cuboid has congruent surfaces. What is congruent? Congruent means they have opposite sides sharing everything in common, the angles, the lengths, and everything. So for a cuboid, we can calculate two things. Here we are looking at the volume, or we also look at the surface area. Instead of determining only the area, is surface area, because we have 6 surfaces. So in other words, even if you don't know the formula, you can just calculate or determine the area of each of the surfaces and add it up. That forms the surface area. The volume of a cuboid, or the volume of every three-dimensional shape, can be calculated by area of base times height. Area of the base times the height. Remember, the base must be that part that is congruent to the top. So if I'm using this as the base, it must be congruent to the top. That's the only way I can classify that as, and that's the only way I can use this formula. So area of the base times the height forms my volume. Even for a cylinder, it is the same thing. For a cylinder, this is a rough sketch of a cylinder. A cylinder has the top and the bottom being the same, a circle. So in this case, area of the base is a rectangle, so we have length times breadth times height. This also applies for a cube. A cube is when all the surface areas are the same. A cylinder, the volume will also be area of base times height. It's the same thing. So it's area of base times height. Where the base here and the top are congruent, they are circles. So area of a circle will be pi r squared times height. You see, everything stems up from the two-dimensional shapes that we have dealt with previously. So this is what we have. Now, the surface area of a cuboid, because we have 6 surfaces and we have congruent surfaces, the top is congruent to the bottom, the side is congruent to the side, the back is congruent to the front. So we say we have, if we label this is the length, this is the breadth, and this is the height. That is why it has 3 dimensions. It's called 3-dimensional because now we have 3 dimensions and it has depth. So here we'll have 2 length times breadth plus 2 length times height plus 2 breadth times height. So here is the surface is length times height, and it is the back and the surface, 2 of it. You have breadth times height, this side, and it is 2 of it. And for the top is length times breadth, and it is 2 of it. So that is how we get the surface area. And the surface area of a cylinder can be gotten by 2 pi r squared, the surface of the 2 circles, top and bottom, plus 2 pi RH. 2 pi RH, which is this side that forms sort of a rectangular bit with a curved part, and that is why we have the circumference and the height. So instead of having a rectangle, we have a semicircle which forms full, and the perimeter of it is 2 pi r, which is circumference, what we have previously, and then times height. And that gives us the surface area of these basic shapes. If you have any question, these are the bases, these are the foundation. We'll deal with other shapes as well, but these are the foundations. If you have any problem, please do not relent to us, and we will take it off from here. In the next video, we'll be solving problems. But so far so good. We'll stop here for now. Please remember to share, comment, and ask your questions. Have a blessed day.